Bombad.
Welcome to the Bombadcast.
What is up, everyone? This is your boy, the Canon Junkie. I am here on another lovely, lovely Bombad Friday with my one and only, maybe not my one and only, but definitely one of the one and only. You guys know how we operate. Here he is, my lovely co-host and friend, Scotty J. Rowe. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. I really am upset that the virus delayed our wedding, but, you know, the one and only thing's going to happen inevitably. Yeah. And
I haven't told my wife yet either, so... Yeah,
no.
We'll just have to see how that goes.
It's going to be cool with Eleanor with two dads. I'm really excited for that. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. And we are just really throwing our guest today into the deep end.
He might be the third dad after this. We'll find out.
We'll see. We'll have to see. We have none other than... one of the great pontificators in this Star Wars discussion world, I would say. And it is none other than Mr. Ken Napzok of the Force Center podcast. Ken, how you doing tonight, man? Good to have you.
I am great. I'm having a Bombad great time. Misa, happy to be here. All those good things I'm sure all your guests have said before. But no, thanks for having me on. This is going to be fun.
Oh, no, this is going to be fantastic. I really can't wait. Just because
I'll take that.
This discussion is almost catered towards your aesthetic and your thing. So I can't wait to deep dive. And Jerry, why Ken for this particular show? Why did we bring Ken Napzok, the one and only, new member of the One and Only Club, into this show?
Well, we're talking about a subject that we all enjoy, Scott. It is Star Wars, and Scott is
what?
Ken is a big Star Wars fan, so I thought he might enjoy this. But more than that, we're talking about something that Ken has actually wrote a book kind of on the same kind of subject, and it is a lovely, lovely read called "Why We Love Star Wars." And seriously, I don't know. There are moments in Star Wars. There are moments that you find that really just kind of hit you without you even knowing. It could be something insignificant that like means nothing to someone else, but to you, you see this moment hits in whatever movie, cartoon, whatever you're watching, playing, whatever, reading, and in your gut, you know, wow, this is why I like Star Wars. This is Star Wars. This is the DNA of what Star Wars is. And so again, why would we not have the great Ken Napzok on to talk about the DNA of Star Wars and just the smaller moments again that he wrote about in his book, Why We Love Star Wars. I don't know, Ken, I don't know if you want to kind of talk a little bit more about what drove you to, or what really kind of led you to writing that book. But I don't know, why don't you go ahead and enlighten us, sir?
Yeah, well, years ago, I mean, I grew up, like everyone, a Star Wars fan. It came early into my life, and I was born in the '70s, child of the '80s, and it was what I gravitated more than any other properties, other than like 1 year. I loved Robotech probably more than Star Wars, and still do love Robotech. But no, my love of Star Wars, like a lot of people, goes just beyond all the big things. But I'm pulled in by the big themes and lessons in Star Wars, which are part of that DNA. But what brings me back are often those little moments. And I had done a podcast, an episode of Spotlight Star Wars, gosh, I think around a little after Rogue One. Mm-hmm. It was the 50th episode of that particular program on Force Center, and I was like, let me do the 50 things I love about Star Wars or something like that. And I just kind of scribbled down on a couple post-it notes, a list of 50 things. And it wasn't big. Some of them were giant moments, but a lot of them were little tiny things. And so years later, when I got the opportunity to write the book for Mango Publishing, Star Wars made sense for me to write about. And I wanted it to be very personal from my point of view and journey, but I felt that was a shared journey. And part of that shared journey is those little tiny moments. The best example I can give is the seismic charges, the seismic charges from Jango Fett's ship in Attack the Clones. That was just one of those moments. It's just Star Wars. It's pure Star Wars. It's just a sound effect. It's Ben Burtt's genius. It's all those things. And that just makes you kind of get those little nerd chills of like, oh, I love that little moment in Star Wars. No matter what you think about the movie or this or that or the moment. And there's a lot of those little things, but a lot of them are bigger moments, small moments that mean bigger things. And so I love talking about that. I love sharing my experiences with those and connections to those moments.
And everyone has them, it's like literally I was at my cousin's the other night, and we were getting Easter eggs, prepared for his son. And we literally just went through Disney Plus, just the moments, I see that you've been trained well, but you're no Jedi yet. Like that moment and Empire Strikes Back. It's just like all of it. Like just those small moments that for some reason, just like boom, just a punch. And like, it doesn't have to make you tear up, but it can definitely just like hit you, and you're like, maybe that's what you needed to hear that day. And it's just it's wild. I don't know. It's something that I feel like if you're a Star Wars fan, you see it, but like, if you're not super deep into it, you still feel that moment some way. And it might not be the seismic charges, Ken, but it could definitely be, whatever moment.
But can we all agree that the seismic charge is at least the coolest sound effect in Star Wars? Maybe is that too big right now? Maybe I don't know.
It's my favorite sound. It's always been my favorite sound effect. Yeah, definitely.
That's an interesting discussion because my favorite sound's the Naboo blaster, whatever one Padme uses in the Phantom Menace. I don't know why.
The one that they fire 500 times to blast open the window. Or last time I watched, I noticed like Panaka takes 5,000 shots at the window to knock out one small panel.
Yeah.
Padme upstairs knows the proper, direction, like angle and stuff. I guess to like she in one shot like blows up.
She's the queen. She's the queen.
She's the queen. That's why she's the queen, man. So there you go. That's a good one though, Scott. I like that. I like that sound effect. But we're not here to talk about sound effects necessarily. Not just sound effects.
I guess you're right.
But I don't know.
But I wanted to ask one thing of Ken. Before this, because if I'm not mistaken, didn't Why We Love Star Wars come out before The Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yeah. So it was finished before that and Mandalorian. Yeah.
Would you go back and maybe add something to it?
If it was possible, obviously a publisher decision. We kind of the timing of my life after I got laid off from my job at Collider, and I just wanted to kind of take my career in another direction, or at least add a little wrinkle to it. And this book came about, so it was like we didn't want to wait. We just felt if I felt Episode 9 was the last thing that was ever going to be out about Star Wars, it might have made sense to wait. But I just knew at the time, not only were Mandalorian, Cassian announced and Mandalorian on the way, 9 on the way.
Yeah.
I knew stuff about the Kenobi TV show and some other things coming down the pipeline where it's like, this is not going to stop. So we might as well just capture what's going on right now.
Yeah, right. Definitely. Because there's one on my little list that I got that's like, I know everyone can relate to it, just like that moment in particular. But I guess we should jump into it, boys. So...
Sure.
For our listeners, what we're going to do, okay? We're going to end up kind of doing like a round robin of sorts where, I'll state mine, then, Ken will state his, then Jerry will state his, and we'll just and we'll bounce off ideas as well. So stay tuned for the ride. And, this weird thing of the Star Wars DNA, it can be defined differently by each of us, I'm a child of the prequels. I went through college during the sequel trilogy. And, some of the moments may be brought on by where you were, and what age you were. So I'm very interested to hear with where we go with this, because Attack of the Clones Seismic Charge, I remember hearing that and I was 8 years old. I was really little. You know what I mean? Which might be different for Jerry, which would be different for Ken. Mm-hmm. What'd you want to say, Jerry?
Well, you can see it on my face, man. All I want to say is I've never heard the phrase round robin before.
Really?
And so that's what interested me about all that.
It's a teacher thing. I'm sorry.
Is that like slang for Red Robin employees for someone who stayed a little too long, got a little too many extra plates of fries? All right, we got another round robin. All right, roll them out the back. All right.
I guess I should have. I'm a teacher, by the way, Ken.
like.
I didn't know if I had mentioned that. Yeah, so so I don't teach the little kids, but it's actually a method of like reading for kids. It's really funny. I completely dispute that off.
So that's what I did. That you like go around the room and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know there was a name for it.
Yeah, I competed in round robin baseball tournaments, so that makes sense.
Okay.
Just a bunch of teams playing each other. Yeah.
You know, we're gonna.
Well, I'm there for that.
I was just gonna. Send
I'm the only
of,
uncultured one. Then it's okay.
Yes.
It's all right. That's fine. Yeah.
I was gonna send a copy of Green Eggs and Ham, and we were gonna do that instead for this episode. But I thought, this would be better.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a large print edition here.
So, yes, exactly, because of we're all adults. We need the best copy of it. But I guess to kind of get into it, all right. Who wants to go first? Does anyone want to volunteer this whole thing? Or Jerry, do you want to start?
You know what? I'll kick this pig.
All right,
Let's
cool.
do it. All right. So, I don't know. I have a bunch of weird moments. I also have, quite frankly, a lot of. You can see we're the Bombadcast. We're not shy with the Phantom Menace and stuff like that. Phantom Menace is actually my favorite prequel. I have at least two from the Phantom Menace. And I think I probably, if I sat down and if we had more time, I would probably just pontificate, and I'm using that word again because I want to sound smart, on just all of the moments from that. But I think I got to go with my first one here. When Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan ignite their sabers in that Dioxis gas. When the whole moment from when the droids come up and surround the door and all that, you've got, they're talking to Newt on the thing. He's destroy what's left of them and stuff. And they're all like, check it out, Corporal, Roger. That whole moment, the build-up. And to see the lightsabers ignite in that gas was just kind of a cool moment. And Scott, we did our... Ken, we did a big, a giant undertaking last October through December in lead up to Rise of Skywalker. We did what we called the Bombad build-up, where we basically watched and straight up analyzed every single movie very meticulously, almost every frame, and we basically created 5 audiobooks. So that's out there. That's out there. But Phantom Menace, man, made me realize. I think it was that I beamed that movie into my brain for that first episode. That made me really realize how much I loved. Just and I remember I was 12. I was what I call the George Lucas sweet spot. Whenever Phantom Menace came out, man.
Sounds kind of gross.
I was
too.
sitting there in the theater,
George
man.
Lucas sweet spot. Sorry.
Here you go. The George Lucas sweet spot. You got all right. No, you've got all these years watching the VHSs, even the special editions and stuff, and all this stuff. Luke's the only Jedi we've ever seen. Now we get to see these Jedi cutting loose, kicking some serious, metal butts around this hallway, and I don't even care that they can run fast in that one moment and don't ever do it again, because it's they needed to do it at the time. I don't know. It's just everything from when they ignite their sabers. Just that moment, though. If we're talking about Star Wars DNA moments, for me, is just every time I see that now, and I just got again I just risked life, limb, and marriage to get that 4K box set recently, and so. If there is a divorce, I get that at least.
Definitely.
But, rewatching those things again, man, just that moment. It's one of the. It just I feel it deep in my gut. There's that swell of joy or whatever that holy crap, here we go, here we are. Well, and I don't know. You guys talk now. You guys talk.
I love the lightsaber in the door, like that scene itself with the music.
Oh, just like plunging.
Oh man, it's
I love that
killer.
they're like close the blast doors with that, and it's like, okay, we got him, and then he plunges.
He keeps going
everything
through.
starts melting. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's just, I love so much about the Phantom Menace. I don't know. It's just, it's a special one for me. So
it's all good. We just ranked our favorite lightsaber moments, not our fights, but our favorite lightsaber moments, and that Qui-Gon one was number 5 on my list. It's because, and from my perspective, being a little bit older, seeing those movies and having a very interesting journey with those movies to the point where I am now, where, Force Center, we have the phrase prequelists and all those kind of things going on. But like, that moment, seeing what you're describing is the fulfillment of what Obi-Wan Kenobi had said, which is, for over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy. We got to see that in that moment. So right away, you're just like, oh, this is different. We are fully formed. Those robes mean they're not hiding out. They are that's their uniform, and they're going. They have the humble attire of a moisture farmer, and they are heading out in the galaxy. And it was good. And we saw a bunch of things we hadn't, running fast and the blade into the blast door. Like, this is like all skills were in use here, and that was a lot of fun to watch then, and definitely fun to watch now. I haven't seen it in 4K yet. I'll work on that. It'll save my allowance, but I'm right with you on that moment.
Yeah. I'm but a human. I am but human, so don't worry about it. Even though I have seen it in 4K, I'm the same as all of you. So.
Maybe.
Come on down the mountain and join us. Yes.
I'll come down off a 4K mountain. Yeah.
4K mountain? No, it's like a run.
Everything just looks better from up here. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. I don't know. To your point, Ken, like, just to have that reveal happen too, with like just the smoke and everything, Jerry, and then the lightsabers go up. It's the first one I ever saw that, like it being, I think Empire Strikes Back had a little bit of fog, but like seriously seeing it in this movie, and they improved the lightsaber so much by then. Like it wasn't just a roto thing on a stick. It probably had gotten a little bit more advanced. So it's just, I don't know, that whole. And people like this team. Some people don't like the Phantom Menace, and I respect that. But it's like undeniably that is so Star Wars. Like through and through that moment, literally, probably until you meet Jar Jar, is like the pacing in the movie is killer until just about that. At least it was not to me, but I'm sure for some people. But yeah.
It's like the best rock concert opening ever, like that smoke and everything, and then everyone like comes out. So it was like Kiss was about to open up, So there you go.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What were you gonna say, Scotty? What were you gonna say, buddy?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about Paul Stanley because you mentioned Kiss, and Ken. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah. Go ahead and let Ken in.
Paul Stanley is our neighbor, and he occasionally shows up on Bombadcast. Yeah, so
that's awesome.
He's like the Wilson. He's like the Wilson of our home improvement.
I'm a big Kiss fan. I saw them in concert in '96 at the Irvine Amphitheater. I was dressed as Peter Criss, but definitely love Kiss and Paul Stanley. So yeah.
Yeah, no, he might.
Well, I don't know if Peter Criss's Folgers commercial is as good as Paul Stanley's, but
that's true.
He's got a pretty good one. So
that's true.
But
Jerry, who should go next? You can choose.
Oh, I get to pick?
Yes.
Oh man, Scotty, why don't you go ahead and lay one on us, and we'll let our esteemed guest go last.
Let him stew.
We don't really care what he thinks.
Okay, I guess I can kind of play to the Phantom Menace only because I don't know. It really fits, and like George is always about anthropology, and like he loves culture and seeing culture like move in its moment. That's why a lot of the prequels has so much fluff in the scenes. Just people, so many Rontos, and just people just walking for the camera and stuff. It's just George, He loves just big build-ups. And I really do think the moments before the Boonty Eve Classic are like just incredible. The flag display, you see the people in the crowd. They're introducing all the pod racers and the people that pilot them, and then like Jabba walking out, and you see Gardula in the back and Matt Woods in it. It's just like I don't know. It's just so much pomp and circumstance, and like something about it. And I love the pod race, but the beginning, just the build, the music. I don't know. It can't be beat in my head, and like. what's the thing, Jerry, that farts?
The EOP.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which on the 4K in the box set there is there are 9 bonus discs for each. There's a bonus disc for each movie.
Yeah.
They have the theatrical cut of the pod race.
Wow.
And
as a bonus?
That
Oh yeah.
or no, I'm sorry. I'm getting that mixed up with the extended and cut scenes. There is an extended pod race intro, and that EOP fart could have been a full 30 seconds. I'm telling you, there's more to the EOP fart. It's one of those that starts, dips, and crescendos, and we just got the crescendo in the finished product.
Damn. We were,
did we dodge a bullet?
No, we were robbed.
Or were we deprived? I don't know. We'll never know, truly, until everyone figures that out. So. But to answer your question, short answer to your question is it's an EOP.
I don't know. I really do love that whole setup, and there's just so much build there, and like I don't know, even the moments before you have that beautiful pan to the actual arena where they're watching the NASCAR arena, and them being in that little I guess you would almost call it like a what did you even call it? The place where like Sebulba's getting like massaged by the Twi'leks, which is also pretty funny.
Like the garage or whatever. It's like a tent or something. Which still blows my mind that thing was a miniature.
Yes.
Right.
Like
it's
that is anyway, crazy.
Yeah. No, it's a great moment. Yeah, it's a great moment. You got the flags, the music. Fart joke aside, we can give or take that. That's certainly George's style. Right. Boba Fett's death followed by a burp joke. So it's part of what he does. But
the kids laugh.
What's that?
Or anything to make the kids laugh.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's my best George. So
yeah, we all got a George. I become increasingly more fascinated with the pod race, and I liked it then. I am just intrigued by the storytelling that can come out of that. I keep talking a lot about what I think about just pod racing in Star Wars and what more I'd like to learn from it. That is it's George finally getting to a car race.
Yes.
Yeah.
George finally got to do it, and he really knew how to do it and do it well, and it's edited so well, and the sound and the use of silence at one point during the chase. A lot there to love, and it starts with that moment.
Yes, it's just this weird thing because you've got I don't know it's 20 minutes, like it's seriously 20 minutes of a movie, and at no point, at least to me, does it feel like 20 minutes. Like seriously, like
right.
It's just done so well, and like just the animation of everything, and every character has its own quirk, and there's just so many little things. Like Jerry, you probably know the name of it because you're the canon junkie here. Who's the little guy that gets exploded in the like cave?
Rats,
yes.
Tyrell.
Yes, like that.
Which you get to see, like in the deleted scene. Well, you probably know this, Ken, and stuff. Like you get to see his family. I know you guys have talked about that on Force Center before. How his family was there watching him. You get to see them react to things.
A little bit more. It's been a while since I've seen that, but they're there watching. You see them in the background walking by, all sad. But I'm fascinated by Rats Tyrell. We're actually gonna be doing something with him on Force Center real soon.
Oh, nice.
He and Joseph just absolutely love poor Rats.
Tragic story there and stuff. It's just that there's a whole backstory to that guy. So anyway.
Yep. It's great.
Just so much can be pulled from that moment, and and the Pod Racer video game actually really kind of helped with that too. I played it when I was growing up for the N64, and it just there wasn't anything like that in there, but like you get more layering of those weird characters when you have to choose them, and they're making all kinds of noises and stuff. It's weird. It's awesome. It's just George. It's just weird.
You get to see a lot more of those characters that you race as too in that extended scene. I would recommend anyone just go. You probably find it on YouTube. I mean, go. It looked like honestly, it wasn't. They didn't resolute that stuff. Like bring that stuff up to 4K. It looks like you're watching it on YouTube, like some shaky cam stuff. So just watch it on YouTube. It's fine. Review coming soon, kids. Ken, what about your first moment, man?
All right, so here's the thing. Let's not lie to the audience. I started making a list that was a little bigger, and I think I've got some moments we want to talk about from that there. But it's keeping in spirit with what you guys are talking about, and even some of the stuff I wrote. I don't want to remix everything from the book, so I'll go a little bit different direction with some of my moments. So one of the moments that I love that's small, and I think it speaks to the DNA of the spirit of Star Wars, is in Return of the Jedi, and that's Princess Leia meeting Wicket. And
wow.
the moment of her giving the snack to Wicket it's a fun moment. It's a cute moment. It's a testament to Warwick Davis at 11 given this role, last second and everything's there. But it speaks to not just an important aspect of the rebellion, which is they are going outside the lines to find different allies and diversifying their forces against the Empire, which has a pretty straight line that they're on. It's to Leia too. Everyone else. George always said the rebellion was Leia's story, and everyone else is fallen for. They're trapped by the Ewoks. The Han's trying to pull a blaster. Luke's confused. Eventually uses the Force, but he can't get out of the situation. And it takes a little help from 3PO, which is an interesting tie to the Rise of Skywalker novel, by the way, with 3PO and Wicket and everything there.
Yeah.
But So the moment that Leia figures it out, that Leia's just, this is how to do it. You treat them right, you treat them nice, and you find allies where you're not looking for allies. It's a real big testament to her as a character, her as a leader, and the rebellion as a whole. And it boils down to a great little exchange. I think it's underrated. And I always say there's a lot of room for cute in Star Wars, and just seeing a little Ewok just kind of be like, ooh, what's that snack you're giving me? I experienced that with my Chihuahuas today, and I'd gladly fight with them against the Empire. So anyways, I just love that moment, Leia and Wicket and her finding that ally.
Damn, that's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is a great moment, too, just because you've got that, just the whole thing about, like you were saying, like the Empire going to that planet and not caring about any of that. Mm-hmm. The kindness that Leia has, that's in her spirit, that's in her nature, and all that is such a great moment. And again, I love that you brought up the fact that Warwick was 11 when they shot that, because that doesn't read like there's an 11-year-old child in that costume at all. It's so genuine. It's so, like, you believe that is an Ewok. And I mean, it's like my 2-year-old loves that moment because she loves the Ewoks and stuff. But it's like I'm like her in that moment. Like, I believe that's an Ewok.
Yes.
That's not, and now they blink and stuff, So
Of course.
That's they're not as dead-eyed, but it's, I don't know. It is like, even before the digital blinking and all that kind of stuff, you could just tell that was just a kind, inquisitive, like, little, like you guys say on Force Center, murder bear. But I don't know. The murder didn't come out then, I guess. It was a little more of the cute side at that point. Yeah. But I don't know. It's that is a great subtle moment, man, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah, no, thanks. I love it. And to me, it ties, we always talk about the emotional canon of Star Wars. It ties to a lot of the lessons and themes in Solo about how the rebellion was actually born out of not just a military movement, though it all ends up kind of into that. It's the oppression of the Empire, and everyone's going to rise up against that eventually if they are shown the way. And Leia knows the way.
Yeah,
definitely. And just like, I don't know, Wicket is such a great character only because that's the best person to get introduced to. And like Jerry said, anyone can get in, anyone like understands it instantly. You're like, oh, okay, this thing is not there to hurt. That thing is just genuinely inquisitive and wants to make sure that whoever this person is, they're not an enemy, but they're very nice. They're feeding me. This is a very beautiful moment, and it really does just
gives
show
you a false
Leia.
Sense of security,
Yes.
So you get used to they're cute, and then like you don't see them like turning on you at all. So
yeah, I don't know, dude. It's funny, that whole indoor moment is almost a little bit like the Boonta Eve Classic. There's a lot of culture there, like when they're telling the stories and they're about to cook Han and like all of that. For them to end up going from being almost like third world to then taking down the Empire, all because of Wicket's positive interaction, that's pretty awesome. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's
George,
and
George was saying some stuff.
yeah, man,
definitely.
oh, for sure. And like you brought up, Ken, in the novelization, that like I loved the moment in Rise of Skywalker where you see Wicket, and do we know, is that Chief Wicket? Do we know if for sure? Did they say?
It doesn't list him as Chief Wicket, and I've always wanted that till I realized that would be usurping the throne from Princess Nisa.
Right.
So we got to recognize her power. She is canon. But
yes.
yeah, no, I think it's just referred to as Wicket, and obviously his son Pommet.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think it's Chief.
Right. Well, I loved, like you said, that, and I think, Scott, I don't know if you've gotten through the novel yet or not, but like just that whole moment with them and 3PO mentioning, like, basically, like, essentially, Scotty, they say, 3PO, oh, our golden god has saved us.
Wow, that's actually sick.
It's kind of, it was awesome. It was a cool moment, and that is just such I love, just everything around Wicket, that whole character, and now it was, I didn't know how much it would affect me to see him again in the thing, but man, it's such a tiny moment, but it does. It says a lot, so.
Yub nub, baby.
Anyway, Yub Nub for life, man.
Yub Nub for life.
Yub Nub for life, but also victory celebration.
No, Yub Nub. Sorry, can we had Hello Greedo on an episode like a month back, and we got into the special edition debate, and I'm still a Yub Nub guy. I don't know where you lay on that whole thing, but I'm...
Me and Scotty are on two different sides on this.
Yeah, I'm Victory Celebration, but I own a lot of recordings of the Yub Nub version and enjoy it just as well, and do miss it, but I think Victory Celebration it just works for me a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay.
A man of class. A man of class. There you go.
Sure. Jerry, I hope your next one's not the ending of Return of the Jedi. I'm just going to be
It's not the ending of Return of the Jedi, but we're going to go right back to smack dab at the end of Phantom Menace.
Okay.
And it is the moment that really kind of spawned all this for me. It is Anakin destroying the droid control ship. And it's just kind of everything. It's the whole atmosphere around that moment. Because I think a lot of people saw that and they go, oh, okay, this kid's like, whoops, like a Home Alone moment where he like accidentally lets the paint can go and makes the whole house explode. But have I seen a Home Alone movie? Yes, I have seen a couple. But anyway, just not necessarily even that. To me, it doesn't really read as like, whoops, here we go. To me, it reads like this kid is like so steeped in the Force. Like he is so steeped. He's like, again, we find out apparently he's a child of the Force, but he's so strong in the Force that it just almost guides his like, oops, I accidentally pressed a button and it was pointing in the right direction. But that's not the moment. It's the whole basically flight out for me that I love. And you got these people dying on the outside, these brave pilots of Naboo and stuff. And they're like, I'm getting chills just talking about this. Like, seriously, this gives me so much chills. Just like all these guys, all these men and women out here fighting to like free their planet and stuff. You know, who cares what the treaty is that they're trying to get, they were trying to get her to sign and stuff. There's a real flesh and blood battle going on out here. And they hear, all of a sudden, they're like, it's blown up from the inside. We didn't hit it and stuff. And then just, I love the whole, all of their dialogue mixed with the Force theme. Da, 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 da. Just, it's such a great rendition of it, too. It's not, to me, I don't know. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. The cadence of that version of the Force theme is different from any other moment in Star Wars. I think
it is. I think it's
it's almost like we're in the heat of this, man. We're in the battle and the Force is still working. And they go, look, one of ours out of the main hold. That line gets me every time now. And just like seeing Anakin walk out and he's going, woohoo. And I know it's like, oh yeah, yippee, woohoo. Anakin says that all the time, but just get off y'all's high horses for 1 second. And realize this kid's coming out, woohoo, and of course, the great, now this is podcasting, or sorry, shout out to Jason Wood, I guess. Love you, Jace. Anyway, now this is pod racing line, but just the whole, like, look, one of ours on the main hold, he goes, woohoo, they all go, woo, they all start cheering together. Yeah. And just to see it, like, all blow up as the Force theme crescendos into just, I don't even know. Again, it's different than any other time. that we've ever seen it. That I think is my top. Honestly, I don't know why I brought this one up second, because it's probably my favorite Star Wars DNA moment, because it's just I don't know, man. I have feelings right now, so just yeah.
Star Wars feelings are great. I love your perspective on it there. I love this moment, but I saw it again when I saw it a little older. To me, I was part of that generation that was like, this is just like the trench run, and we weren't so steeped in Star Wars poetry as we needed to be at the time. But I love getting your perspective of seeing that in the theater and that connecting that moment with the greater Star Wars adventure that's about. Yeah, and I to be honest, I never got too bogged down on. That can be a little screenwriting 101 type of, the hero must make it, with Jar Jar doesn't make a choice as much, and that one maybe affects me a little bit more than Anakin, like you said, as someone who's so steeped in the Force without even knowing it, that stuff's going on. So I never got too hung up on that, and now this is pod racing has become its own kind of cult line, but out of that moment comes a great victory. It looks so good, and the Bravo Squad kind of like that's not us. I mean, it's not one of ours, or that's one of ours. Whatever it is, it's just like it is. It is part of the spirit of Star Wars, indeed.
Yeah, it's the way it happens too, because Return of the Jedi does the best with like the three-way battle. Indoor meets space meets the throne. The Palpatine battle. Then you get the Phantom Menace, which like has been building up to this moment, but like it's 4 different ways. You got Padme and the crew going to the top of their throne room. Then you got Jar Jar and the Gungans on the field. Then you got the space battle. Then you have the lightsaber duel, and like it truly all climaxes with that moment, because when that ship explodes, obviously the droids get shut down. Then Newt Gunray gets captured.
Domino.
Yeah. Then you get to it's weird. It's like you get a win, and then you get hit with a loss from Qui-Gon, which is still a win because Darth Maul has then been chopped in half. So it's weird. It's like I
like he said, chopped in half and not killed. There you go.
No, that's Canon, see, I was very strict with my words. No, and that's the thing though, Jerry. That's a beautiful moment, because like I don't know, not many moments almost for me in Star Wars have been like a successful 4-way battle like that. Like the Rise of Skywalker actually didn't even do that for me. TLJ did. Rise of Skywalker didn't really have a incredible, amazing, huge climax like the Phantom Menace kind of had, which is funny to say. It's one of those ones that people really don't like to bring up, but I don't know. Phantom Menace has some incredible jewels,
absolutely
stored within it.
It pains me to say it, but to even utter this phrase, but there are some diamonds in the rough, if you have to put it that way. So there you go.
Yeah, I love that moment, Jerry, and the explosions still look great, and the fact that like it explodes and then the thing in the middle explodes and like the arm falls. Like I have mine literally right here. I have my what is it called? What are these toys called?
You have this. I don't even have a droid control ship, but that's amazing.
But
I do have a shrine to everything.
It's a medal.
Everyone hates in Star Wars behind me. But with Rontos and Jiao Yaoza, and actually Jiao Yaoza's right here. So that's my spirit animal. But anyway, Scotty, man, what's your next one?
Okay, my next one, I might go a little out of order. This one, like, still makes me tear up, like, just the thought of it. And it's so weird because I'm sure Ken, yes, you were at the Mandalorian panel. I actually talked to you for a hot second after that panel. But at the Mandalorian panel in Chicago, you're watching that panel, and the whole time you're like, this show's going to be kick-ass. This is going to be awesome. Like, man, we just saw some, like, 20 minutes worth of stuff that no one else is going to see till October. This was incredible. And then you're sitting there that night, that Tuesday night. God, it gets me. And you're watching it. And I don't know, you might have been maybe in the know of this, Ken. I don't know. But when they showed the child for the very first time, I don't think, like, I've ran around. I think it probably was the greatest moment in Star Wars for me. Just, like, for reveals. Like, just so unexpected. I was thinking it would be Boba Fett, and he's hiding out, 50 years old. Like, maybe this makes sense. What's going on? And then they open that little thing, and it's just an infant that looks just like Yoda. I don't know. almost speechless.
Can you imagine if they didn't say before before Mandalorian came out, like a week or two before, like it's gonna have a big spoiler in the first episode? Can you imagine if they didn't say that?
Yeah.
How we would? I don't think any of us would. We'd probably be like still rocking in the fetal position in our beds at this point. I don't think we would have went past episode 1 because we wouldn't have been mentally capable. But that's yeah, even still, with knowing that, it was like, what is it going to be? What's it going to be?
God.
No one would have predicted that.
No.
Yeah,
And
that's such a great moment.
It added a layer, just a huge layer to the show that you did not expect. Like, just like a blanket of like, well, what the hell is he going to do next? Like, this is not going to be a secondary character. Like, I instantly knew that. Like, this is so much more important than that. And I don't know, Ken, what was your perspective of that moment? Being you're in the know of some stuff. I know you are. You've talked about it on your show before. But did you know anything about that at all, or no?
I 100% did, and
Wow.
I wish I didn't. But in fact, no one made. Here's the thing: I didn't know that. I didn't. And this is how much I loved that moment.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be like that. I didn't know it was coming at the end of the episode. I kind of was like, man, Boba Fett. I was like, is he going to come up? Like, I know Favreau wanted this to be a Boba Fett series, and they denied that, and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't thinking that. But 2 weeks before on Jedi Council, I made a joke about Baby Yodas. No one remembers that I did that.
Wow.
And I said, I don't know. There's going to be a whole bunch of Baby Yodas in this series. Who knows? And I wish I didn't know. I didn't know because I had been told that something's going to happen and then there's going to be this species and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. I just didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. So when it happened, and the moment they cut to the little baby space pram, I was like, oh, even before then, I was like, oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And then even in that moment, it exceeded my expectations. And as Scrimshaw calls him, Yupil, we'll see what his real name is. The child has just continued, because it's a character. It's a fully functional character. And to your point, like, I don't want this to turn into this Mandalorian discussion too much, but coming out of that panel, I was not too thrilled. I was like, I don't want Star Wars Underground. I don't want dark and gritty. Yeah. I was in a big disagreement with some of my colleagues at the time on that show. And it just turned into what I needed it to be, which is it's a story about change, growth. It's a warrior becoming a parent, whether he wants to or not. And a lot of it has to do with Baby Yoda. I mean, I was just rewatching episode 4, which is the first time we meet Cara Dune, and the little subtle all through where the child is. Anytime he sees Mando do something, he acts it out after, including his walk, including his, and it's just like, it's breathtaking, and it's just simple beauty of just a child looking at his now essentially adopted father and trying to be like him, and how there's programming, and this whole series is about your own programming, overcoming it, and what you can pass on these big themes. So the show exceeded my expectations, and it exceeded it because of going back to that moment, a moment I even kind of knew. And was sitting there going, oh, wow, this is different. This is different than even what I had been told. So, yeah, long story short, I do love that moment, too.
That's awesome.
That is a great one.
And culturally, like, what it did after is the incredible part.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, you can say what you want about The Rise of Skywalker and TLJ and the Force Awakens. I mean, the Chewie We're Home might be just a moment bigger than that, the trailer reveal. But this, within itself, is just, like, taken the world by storm. It's got everyone
for
watching
Star
it.
Wars fans. The Chewie We're Home like made us all cry for hours upon end. But Baby Yoda transcended fandom.
Yes,
there are Baby Yoda memes I see on my Facebook. On Facebook. We're talking the people that get things like 5 days after Twitter gets them.
Yeah.
There are Baby Yoda, and no shade to Facebook. I'm just kidding. There are Baby Yoda memes from like my great aunts and stuff. It's like people are just all about the Baby Yoda liking chicken nuggies and stuff and all that kind of stuff. And also, again, she's going to be 3 years old by the time this episode comes out.
Oh,
and stuff,
wow.
So happy birthday to my little one. But she, this week, has been playing I'm Baby Yoda you're the Mandalorian. Be the Mandalorian, Daddy. Be the Mandalorian. And I'm like, all right, Baby Yoda, take your big girl medicine. Come here. Baby Yoda, put on your pants. Different stuff like that, Baby Yoda, let's go to bed, drink your juice, and all that. It's pretty great.
That's awesome.
But anyway, yeah, there you go. But it is, I Ken, you're so right. And that moment immediately changed that show from what we thought it was going to be into something so much more. And
Totally.
Yeah, great moment, Scott. Great moment.
Thank you. Ken, what's your next one, bud?
All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a little. Gosh, where do I want to go? Right, I am gonna go to Force Awakens, and one of the little moments that made us not only just continue to love Star Wars, and it was coming back in 2015, and we didn't know what that meant, and we're learning it. And in the first few minutes of the movie, we're introduced to Rey, and Daisy really did such a good job of just capturing that spirit alone. Dreaming about what's out there, but the deep stuff of being stuck, and she's stuck in her own routine. She's too afraid to leave. That's some of the deeper stuff. I still love the moment with her putting on the helmet from the Tirfon Yellow Ace pilot, the X-wing helmet, and just kind of daydreaming and just kind of being lost in that because that is us. That's what we did as a kid. You got on your bike, and it was a speeder bike or an A-wing or a snow speeder. Even I joke now. I even some nights if I'm driving home late at night when I was driving freely, sheltered in place like every responsible person now. But getting on the on-ramp on a freeway and just being like, I'm an X-wing heading down the trench and we're launching into battle. Like that's part of the spirit. And to see a character, wrestling with the legacy of the stories that came before them, which is definitely the point of The Force Awakens, if not the entire sequel trilogy.
Beautiful.
What does the current generation do with the generation that came before them, and the successes they had and the failures they had, and the mistakes they left us with, and the mistakes that we have to don't want to make ourselves. Anyways, it all comes down to that little moment. She's sitting there, she's daydreaming, just kind of It leads to the great BB-8 introduction between her and BB-8. So I think that's one of those little moments that I love the opening moments of Rey on Jakku in Force Awakens. I think it's just some of the best Star Wars out there.
Yes, indeed.
That's awesome. That is some of the best and stuff. And I love now that I can... My kid, during all this self-quarantine, is just now starting to get into... Like, we found that BB-8, my buddy BB-8, essentially. They released during the TLJ. We found it on Super Sale in 2018, and nice. I bought one. She was too young, to play with, not even a year old yet. And she's just now rediscovered it down here in my makeshift studio in my dungeon of a basement. And the past couple of days, she has been playing I'm Rey, you're Poe to me. I don't know why Poe, but you're Poe, and this is BB-8. And BB-8's my buddy. Nice. BB-8 even she wanted BB-8 to sleep with her in her bed last night, and so I assume that's what Rey and BB-8 probably did. They snuggled under a stormtrooper blanket.
Yeah, you're right. They did.
In that AT-AT and stuff. So we ended up having to take him out because she didn't go to bed for hours because she was pressing the top of his head and making him beep, and that was just frustrating. But that whole thing, she can see Rey though. I was watching The Force Awakens the other day with her in the room, and just that moment, she opens up that compartment, and you see her with the goggles, full face mask and stuff. She goes, "Look, Dad, it's Rey. Daddy, it's Rey." Nice. And she knows and stuff, and it's just so iconic, and it's so it says so much. Just those opening moments of her life, it's beautiful. And also sad and haunting. At the same time.
It adds the tragicness to it. Literally, if you haven't noticed already, she has a pretty terrible life. But when she goes into the AT-AT and then she's scratching off, and they did a real quick shot of all the time she's done that. It's just I couldn't even imagine, what it must be like, and to daydream and to look up at a ship taking off must be like. Just what you long for. It's that moment, Ken, is almost like her, Luke looking towards the sunset. That and when she's looking at the ship when she's cleaning off that thing too. Those are the moments that you understand that character. That JJ did so much in 5 minutes. Really for that character, it was amazing. That's a beautiful moment, Ken.
I'm thinking about how much. Oh, sorry. Can I just say there's so much of an existential crisis when she's looking. You mentioned her looking at the older woman there. I'm like, that's deep right there.
Yes.
That gets me right now. I'm like, that moment is just.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, kid. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was going to talk about the Twin Sons moment, too, because that's quintessential DNA of Star Wars, and one of the reasons it was so successful in 77 is George tying into the kid and all of us dreaming about getting off. And it is a similar moment for Rey, but it works, it plays out differently, especially by the time we meet Maz, and Maz is in her life telling her, it's not behind you, it's in front of you, because Luke wants to go. Luke wants to get the hell out of there. In my book, I broke down the moment to 3 distinct kind of looks, what he's doing. Like, I want to be out there. I can't be out there. Maybe I can be out there. With Rey, I always say her routine traps her there. She doesn't want to leave. She wants another life. She wants someone, and it's marking the days that she's been left and the days until she'll be found again, and the Force is going to find her and has found her in a different way. So, and the journey plays out different for her, but so it's the same moment, but it's again that different use of the moment where she doesn't want to leave. She wants to be right here, but what does that mean, and what does that life? And you mentioned the old woman, and just like, well, this could be it. Though she wants to be part of the story, she wants to find her place in the story, that we know, but she is trapped. She's literally trapped by her life there, and I love that moment too. Yeah, the Twin Sons playing off it works really well.
It does. It really does. Fantastic choice, Ken. Gerald, where are you taking this next one?
Well, next I think we'll head over to a little film I like to call A New Hope. If you're of Scotty's ilk, it's Star Wars. But we no shade. I know the thing. I know things, guys. Okay. But it's just kind of a moment that before I really thought about this list for this episode, I didn't realize how much this one really kind of sticks out in my mind anytime I'm watching A New Hope. It's Luke rushing back home. It's not that moment, but he rushes back to, he's like, oh no, if the stormtroopers found out about the Jawas, they'll lead him back home. Just can we just take a moment too to just love Mark Hamill's delivery of the line that would lead them back home. I love that. But just him pulling up, and honestly, it's the shot of him seeing his hair blowing in the wind in like the coolest way possible. I don't know. It's so epic. It's so this guy. This is the wind of change, the wind of destiny, and like him seeing the destruction of his life. Essentially, that was his whole life. That's the only family he's ever known. It's essentially his mom and dad, his parents, the people who raised him. I don't know. I can get really dark on this, but there's the burnt skeletons right there. It's like that's rough for like a fantasy space movie that wow, this helped us forget about the Vietnam War and stuff. All the weird darkness and stuff. But it's still such a dark moment in such a light film. But just Luke, his reaction where he looks down, you can see the sadness. He's like, I should have been here, but if I was here, I would have been that would have been me too. Mm-hmm. You can see so much just in Mark's. And again, I know Mark Hamill in that movie seems a little whiny to some people, but just Mark Hamill is, I feel a very underrated actor. Mm-hmm. The look down and then the look back up of
this is it. Yeah,
I have no choice. Here I go. That whole moment, and also that shot where it pulls back and you see his back, and the wide shot of his back, and then the burning homestead in front of him, and then it cuts to the ties. That's one of the best wipes in Star Wars, in my opinion, and just that shot is very modern. Mm-hmm. That shot is very early 2000s, 2010s, man. You couldn't tell me that wasn't in Force Awakens, Last Jedi or something like that. Yeah. It's such a beautiful, tragic shot. And so it's very melancholy, but that moment is just, more than almost, it's like that last push from the twin sons moment. I want to go and have an adventure to, I have no choice. I have to go on this adventure.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just like a crazy chill-inducing moment.
It is.
Love it.
It's like, I don't know, it kind of parallels what I'm going to bring up after this, but like the swelling of the Force theme. And like the Force theme is really a big staple of the sequel trilogy as much as it was the original trilogy, you know, and it's been used a lot. But like something about that version and the version I'm going to bring up in a second is like, it's huge. It's like you just having to accept it, you know? You didn't know you'd be a part of this, but it's definitely going to be a role you're going to play in this overall story now. And like, yeah, I don't know. The only time I've ever experienced loss is a flood came through Louisiana, 2016. I looked at my home the same way I'm sure Luke looked at it. You're just like, what do? You know, you either stay, rebuild,
how do I pick
or
up these pieces.
Yeah, you got to pick up the pieces and make this work, you know, and emotionally, it's just it might have felt a little bit different for Luke, but it was still one of those things like this house that I stayed at for so long is just gone, and like the people I loved are gone from it. We'll never have these moments again. Like I don't know, and it's silent. Like Luke doesn't say anything. I think that's what I like the most about it. Like it really is just a moment to himself, a very personal moment. And it's because of, maybe it wasn't even a mistake he made. It would have happened regardless. It's something I didn't think about.
I'm going back to when I saw it in my earlier days, and without applying all these big, deep Star Wars themes, I'm going to how my gut reacted when I was, 7, 8, 9, 10. I just what you said, Scotty, just the idea of like this was going to happen, and he wasn't there, and I used to get terrified of the fact of what if Luke was there?
Yeah.
What if it had played out that way? And as a kid, that terrorized me, that tormented me, it scared me. But you never know. But your journey begins. It just ties a little bit to the Twin Sons moment and some of the writings I did about that, where you're like your journey's already begun, and you sometimes don't know it. And Luke's journey had already begun, and that's where he really had to start to face it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, I don't know if I can...
What's that next moment, Scott?
Well, the next thing really kind of deals with the same exact, it's the same music, and I think it's just a amazing use of it. It's whenever... Finn's obviously defeated. The Battle of Starkiller Base had just occurred. Han's dead. Kylo's like, all right, there's that lightsaber. That belongs to me. Oh, he hadn't said that yet, I think, right? No. Maybe he did. Ooh, I don't remember.
It's the... he said it to Finn.
Yeah, he said to Finn.
Finn picks it up,
That lightsaber belongs to me. Yeah.
Man,
yeah.
All that in the forest is just solid gold. So,
it's aged amazing. So, yeah. With that being said... You see him reach it, and of course you got a visual parallel to Empire Strikes Back with the ice around the lightsaber in the snow, and it's shaking, and he's going for it more, and then of course everyone in the theater, at least for me, I'm like, oh my god, here's Luke, but that's where JJ's like, nope. Not what you need, not what the story needs. This is the next person coming up, and like. Man, even in that, when I first saw it, it was like the stand-up moment. You're like, what? Like, when? How? And, obviously she had contact with that lightsaber prior to this moment, but just the way it flies and he, like, moves out of the way and she catches it, and then it's the same exact use of that version of the Force theme with the violins going da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then just the build of it and, like, his face, then she ignites it. It's like, oh my god. It's that same moment. It's like, what? I gotta do this now. Like, this is it. Like, I gotta make a choice. Like, yeah, I can't run from her anymore. So, yeah, that's pretty much my Star Wars moment for that particular scene in TFA.
It's a powerful moment for many reasons, and we were just discussing it on the Star Wars Rank last week with the best lightsaber moments. I think it was Joseph's top one or two. I can't remember now, but he describes it much more beautifully than I do. But it is literally, we hear about the call of the hero, the hero's blade, and all these kind of Joseph Campbell myth things. It is the moment, like you said, Rey does it. She calls for the blade, but when it hits her hand, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of trepidation, like, I wanted this journey, now it's here, and I have to figure that out. And it goes back to the beginning. It goes back to what we talked about before, about her on Jakku And what Maz is telling her, it's in front of you, and you don't want to go in front of you. You're so tied to your past, and you've got to learn from your past, but you got to move forward, and the journey and adventure and lessons and all of it's in front of you. So I love that she doesn't call the blade over and grab it and is like, all right, we're going. I'm going to kick your ass. It's like, oh crap, my journey is now.
Yes.
It's no longer a dream. It's now. And I think that's why that really works. And yeah, it could have, and that's the angle I took when I did write about it and why we love Star Wars. And the angle I took was, I was like, oh, that shot looks like Empire. Mm-hmm. Luke's been missing. Mm-hmm. We all want him to come back and kick ass. Here's the moment. And man, that would have been just such a short-changed journey.
Yes.
It would have been a dead-end version of storytelling. We got something better. And I'm so glad I wasn't ready for Luke or Rey, but everyone else was ready for Rey in that moment, and that's why I love it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Jay, what about you, man? What did you take away from that moment when you first saw it?
I don't know. I'm just sitting here trying to figure out, was that like the same exact cue, or did John Williams re-record that? It almost seems like it's ripped straight. It just seems straight from that. Like it's almost like they just lifted it off of that scene, and it's beautiful in that it is. Those are like the same scenes essentially. Mm-hmm. It's I have to pick up this like you're saying, Ken. This is the moment. Mm-hmm. I wanted it. Here it is. Holy shit! Like here we go. But that moment, I love everything about it. I love the way Kylo is. At first, like he's like, the whole thing with Finn, like that's that it belongs to me. He's very like possessive, very like privileged. Like that's mine. I want it. Give it to me. And then just to see him like, okay, now it's my, like he plays with Finn for a little bit until he gets like, poked in the arm. And he's like, all right, you know what? I'm done. Goes to get it. Like, why isn't this working? And the way it flies past him and his face is just amazing too. But that just the look on Rey's face when she gets it is again just so it's powerful. It is. Yeah. It's like it's fear. It's here we go. I got this. And at the same time, like what am I gonna do? Mm-hmm. It's beautiful, and it's one of the top moments of all Star Wars to me. Yeah. Like that moment that's one of the moments, you're like, you put them on, if you put a movie on while you're like doing laundry or like walking around the house or like, doing chores and stuff. And, that moment, it's one of those moments where you stop, know?
Yeah.
And you're just like, I know you've talked about that before, man. Like that's just the thing. It's one of those moments where you're like, I got to watch this happen because it's just,
huge.
It's a quintessential Star Wars moment. It is part of the DNA for sure.
Beautiful. Ken, what you got going on, bud? What's next?
We've been gone pretty deep here. We've dug deep into the emotions of Star Wars. But I wanted to talk about something that I actually was going to write about, and I had talked about it on that podcast early on, the 50th, the 50 moments. And I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to write about this because it is such a tiny, tiny little moment. But when I first saw it, I literally... Not out loud because I don't watch movies like a jerk like that, but in my head was just like, God, I love Star Wars. But I ended up writing about a bigger moment in this battle. But going to Rogue One, when there's a moment where Blue Squadron, General Merrick's squad, has a big hit. They do something good, whatever, it doesn't matter. And the camera cuts to the U-wing and the X-wings and everything, and it sweeps up. And I know this is an audio, but they sweep up and they fly and they dip and they fly away, and it looks so good. And it's a testament to Lucasfilm's, CGI teams and VFX teams and all this kind of stuff. But I just love that because that Rogue One is got some of the best Star Wars action of anything. Oh, yeah. And that's why I love it. And I always talk about the why behind things, and I ended up writing about the Admiral Raddus moment, which is when they all come out of hyperspace, and this is Admiral Raddus of the Rebel Alliance, because it's the first time the Rebel Alliance has been proclaimed publicly as this kind of unified military organization.
Yes.
It's them coming out of hiding, literally. They've done things before, they've had successes and misses, but this is the first time. This is the crawl of New Hope in action, and it's all in Raddus's statement. It's simple and it's powerful, but deep within that are these little things, and I love this because there is great joy in General Merrick, rest in peace. There's great joy in what they're doing, and they feel as though they are finally maybe coalescing enough to help each other to score victory.
Yes.
And there's just a little thrill of the thrill of fighting evil. And that is something that as a kid, man, I would have loved that moment, because I love a lot of the Battle of Endor moments that are just action shots. And that one was just so well. It plays so well. It looks like you have your Kenner vehicle play sets, and you're just and you're flying in your room, and that's why I love it.
That's beautiful.
That's amazing. That is such a cool, and you don't have to worry that this is audio, because I'm sure if anyone who listens to this show can picture it as soon as you say
Right.
that shot where they're flying up, like immediately, man. I mean, it comes to memory. Like that is just such a beautiful shot. Absolutely, with the Scarif in the background, and just, my gosh, it I don't know. There is that is essential to why, like you're saying, like your book, like Why We Love Star Wars and stuff, that is 100% part of the DNA, because it's cool moments like that. It's the moments you want to reenact with your action figures. It's the moments that you're like, wow, that looks amazing. I can't believe that looks so real. I can't believe that looks so cool. It's just, to see all those like fighters, in the Disney era, a lot of people I know kind of complain about how we get a lot of ships in atmosphere. We haven't got a ton of like ships flying atmosphere. It's not really a big thing for me. I think it's cool and stuff.
Me
but
too.
That moment was, that's a great pull. Okay, that's such a good underrated. And that, again, that's exactly what I was thinking whenever I kind of like told Scotty, man, we should do like something about like this. DNA of Star Wars, just the little moments like that really make you like, you feel it in your gut. You're like, oh, yeah, man, I love this. I love it. So, Scotty, what do you think about that?
You both summarized just the whole spectacular feeling of it, because you can tell it's their first time really like pulling off something this big, just from them flying into the thing and that one ship getting, crashing as well. And like they blow down that, what is it? It's a different AT-AT walker. It's got an orange box on it. But whatever the bigger one is.
ACT.
Yeah, exactly. That one. Then they go down and they just ended that thing, and you can tell it was just a moment of desperation. And then, I guess you're right. It is that kind of dip and pull, and you see a U-wing, which is one of the new additions, and you see an X-wing, and it's just crisp. Like it is kind of, you know what, and maybe this is really deep, and it's such a small second, but like you brought it up, Ken, with the old toys and everything. Like Star Wars, when it ended in 2005 for me, I was 9 years old essentially, and that when the Revenge of the Sith ended in the theater, I was like, that's it. Like that's it. I will never get anything else, and I'm gonna be okay with that. That's just how it was, and I was little,
right.
And then to get Rogue One and to get Solo and to get all the new movies and Mandalorian's like such a treat. But it is those little moments that like just hit home, and just hit you. I mean, I can see myself doing that with my Legos still. Like if I had a Lego U-wing in 2002, I would be doing that. It's just, I don't know. It's beautiful.
But it's like we all have a moment from the movies back, before 2005, even back like Return of the Jedi and stuff like that. We all have a moment where a ship did something cool, where we tried to reenact it with something. And so that's why that just sings so true. Like all the flips that Anakin and Obi-Wan were doing. Scotty, to your point, in Revenge of the Sith, I went to see that after I graduated from high school, so I'm a little older than you. I wasn't 9.
Yes.
But imagine being on the precipice of the rest of your life going, wow, okay, I guess that's done. What else?
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, that great pull, man.
Great moment, Kim.
Thanks.
Jerry, I think this is going to be like our last two, essentially, what we're going to go through after this. So, Jerry, what's your second to last one, man?
Second to last, I think I'm going to go a little out of order here. I think I was staying pretty good, like with chronological prequels to originals to sequels. But I'm going to skip to a moment that is a newer one from Rise of Skywalker. I've loved Rey ever since we met her in Force Awakens, but this is the moment for me that cemented her as, I think, probably my favorite Jedi to date. Not to ask her on a date. I'm happily married. Sorry. To current date. But anyway, it's Rey. It's when they're on Kijimi, and they're surrounded by Zori and kind of that gang and stuff, and just Rey knocking Zori, or Zori gets knocked down, and Rey pulls out the lightsaber, holds it at her. Mm-hmm. And just the whole exchange between her and Zori of what is it? Zori says to her, not that you care, but I think you're okay. And her reply of, I care. And just the earnestness on her face and that moment, it just hits me. Like, I'm getting warm, fuzzy feelings just even talking about it, because it's just such a quintessential, like, that is what a Jedi is. That is a Jedi. It's like, I'm going to protect people, but I'm here really to protect all of you. I wish you wouldn't, because she senses the good. I feel like just in that moment, I feel like she senses the good in Zori. She knows it's just a misunderstanding. I don't want to do this, but I will do what I have to do to protect the people, my people, and to protect good people. And just like the whole letting her know, like, no, I care. I do care. It's, and it does kind of call back to that funny line of Luke of I care and stuff. But just it I don't know, just that whole, it's such a small moment, but to me it says so much about Rey's character, and I absolutely love it. And so that, to me, that is again, it's so new, but I just, man, every time I rewatch that film, that moment, it rings so true. That's part of that is DNA right there.
Totally.
Well, I could tell you, if you were at a bar, if it was a year ago at Star Wars Celebration, Joseph Scrimshaw would toast you, as would I, but he'd clink your glass over that. He loves the Luke, I care moment.
Right.
And I think it ties directly to this Rey moment. It's about the spirit of who they are and spirit of the Jedi. Rey all the way through. What's one of the first things Rey does when we meet her? She doesn't just save BB-8. She fixes his antenna, right? That's the save the cat kind of moment, to borrow the screenwriting term. Like, and that goes all the way through, and that is Rey's character, and she is in tune to all that stuff. One of my favorite moments. It's not on my list. I don't want it to count. No worries.
Yeah, we'll let it.
But it's a beautiful moment where while they're talking about to 3PO about doing what he needs to do to erase his memory there in Babu Frick's workshop, and Rey just simply says, 3PO, you more than anyone know the odds. Like, what a powerful, it's not just a callback. It's not a nostalgia pull. It is the entire series. No one has paid attention to 3PO, whether we want to believe it or not.
Yes.
But Rey has, because Rey cares, because Rey's in tune. Rey's about celebrating life. She's about saving life. She's about those little typey things. That's why I love in Last Jedi, when she sees BB-8, what's the first thing she does?
Checks his antenna.
Yeah, your antenna still looks good. Like, that's her spirit. That's why I love the stuff, the Aki Aki Festival of the Ancestors, which was a whole sequence pretty much designed to show Rey joy and let her experience joy, but to show her what she's fighting for, the kids and the smiles and laughter and things she didn't get to experience. It all comes down to those little moments. I think you've selected a great moment here. It's a fun moment between Zori and Rey, just so they're not, we cut out the fight between them right away. We don't need that, but it does say a lot about Rey and what she's there for.
Right,
Karen.
Man, and gosh, now you're making me think I should have put that 3PO moment down, because that is a great moment. Like, the whole, no one pays attention to C-3PO, man.
Nope.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, Rey. We had a thing during our Bombad build-up, Ken, where we said that Qui-Gon Jinn was the most Jedi to ever Jedi. And I think Rey usurps him at this point. I mean, I think Qui-Gon is sitting there. I mean, Qui-Gon talks to Rey. He doesn't talk to anybody else. He talks to Rey. So I think Qui-Gon's up in Force Heaven going like, all right, I like that kid.
I think you're right. I think it's Qui-Gon and Ahsoka by a hair, and they're both proud of Rey.
Yes.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at it.
They're like, yeah, girl. Yes, queen. Yes, queen. There you go.
Qui-Gon saying that. Yes.
Could you imagine?
Yes, queen. I don't know if I can do a good Liam Neeson, but yeah, I won't attempt it any longer. So, yeah. Scotty, what's your next moment? Or what do you think? What do you think about? Did you say what you said?
No, but I don't know. There's really not much more I can add. I did love that moment when it happened because like the way they framed it too was so cool. With like she's pointing down and she's in
that
the
shot with her with the lightsaber.
Oh yeah, and then she's holding it up, and
beautiful.
then like. You see from each perspective, which is something Star Wars never does, which is like first person point of view, and like you literally see the lightsaber getting pointed at the screen, from Zori's perspective, and then once races that line, and then it cuts immediately to Zori saying the next line, and I'm like, that's just so cool because it's just I don't know, Rise of Skywalker did a lot of weird things with the camera that I think no other Star Wars movie has done, and that was one of them. And the other one I want to mention very quickly is when C3 was like, I just want to let you know you're my best friend before he walks out of the shot. And it's like that weird overhead shot of C3PO and R2D2. Freaking awesome. I think it's the best shot in the sequel trilogy because it's so unique. But nice. It's just the idea of that moment too. You can obviously tell it's like Nazi Germany, being invaded in France. They're finding the Jews everywhere and stuff. It's just like it's an intense moment to think that because when you're first watching like another enemy, like oh god, they got all this on top of it, but for it to be twisted very quickly because of what Rey does and no one else does. It's kind of a weird hero moment for her because she's the one that kind of handles it, whereas Poe gets them into it, which is pretty cool. I don't know. Right. I think it's kind of a cool twist.
Just, Scott, you and Joseph talk about how No Jaconka needs to become a Star Wars fan quote, and I am 100% on that train, man. That is one of the best Poe lines ever. No Jaconka. It's so good. That whole sequence is amazing. So, yeah. Scotty, what's your next one, bud?
Let me see. We're boiling down to the last two. I went a little out of order. I'm gonna kind of take a step back because Revenge of the Sith. We haven't mentioned Revenge of the Sith yet, have we? I don't think we have. There's one moment
we talked about the like fighter moments. And stuff.
Yeah. But like truly, like I think it's after Anakin kills a Separatist, wherever he is like crying. And like he just did that, and his red eyes are gone. Like it's so cool to think like he's killing the Separatists with these red demon eyes, and then the red eyes are gone. He's looking at the sun being obscured by really dark clouds. It's like almost the antithesis of what Luke experiences, when he does experience the staring off into the sunset moment. Like it's just a really interesting
like a
parallel.
Dark twist on it.
Yes,
yeah.
because
wow.
this horrible future you have just made for yourself, this little glimmer of light is going to be gone. Like you shouldn't have done. You took it. He not only took it too far, but like to truly the point of no return. And so
right.
we think. Then of course his son brings him out of it. But it is like the pretty much. And it's almost framed very similar too, just like he's looking at this sun being obscured by clouds. That moment, and he's crying, like he knows what he did, and it's beautiful. Because in most movies, when a character goes bad, they're like, I'm bad, and that's it. Like I'm just an evil person, and like I don't know, and a lot of it can be played with and messed around with. But this is the one time where it's like, damn, like I did this just to save Padme, And literally, as he's doing that ship flies in, and he has to go handle that situation, and he does not handle it well at all. It's the worst way to kind of start and end a fight, I think. Choking out your girlfriend with the Force.
Yeah, that's definitely not. That's how an episode of Cops begins, I believe. So that's where that goes.
Troops.
Yeah. But,
Troops.
That is I wanted to joke with you, Scott, and be like, "Wow, Debbie Downer, thanks, bringing us down a little bit there." But I did the whole thing with Luke and his destroyed home, so it's fine. It's fine. I'll allow it. But that I never have thought about it that way. The way you said, like with almost being like an anti version of Luke's looking at the sunset. because did we really get anything like that with Anakin in the Phantom Menace? Like him looking like he just wanted to go. He was like, oh,
away.
cool, Jedi. I want to be a Jedi.
Yeah.
Just to have that be like the dark antithesis of Luke's. I'm staring at a sunset, but it's not a good sunset. There's not adventure. The adventure ahead of me is dark and I don't know. That's great. That's such a great analysis of that, Scott, because I never quite thought of that like that.
Yeah. I think it's
great.
It's heavily intended, I feel. Ken, any perspective on that? Any wisdom?
I don't know if I ever have any of that, but I'll say I've watched Star Wars a lot and enough to know that, I think you're right, that Lucas loves that. We make the jokes about the Star Wars poetry. Everyone who's a Star Wars fan does. And I get it. And it's fun because George is a good character to be a character, to turn into a sketch character. But it is true. And it's a lot of truth to what you're saying there about this is his, the other side of what his son would experience a few decades later, a couple decades later. And it's part of this tapestry of the fall of Vader for me. That leads to a lot of great moments along the way. I love the final moment with the mask coming down because it is the last times he's trapped in there. His mistakes, and this is what George's big lesson of the prequels with Anakin was literally saying to the 12-year-olds, like, you have choices in life. And by the way, if you make some choices, you can't come back from them. Or if you do, it's going to be a long, hard road, and you are trapped by your mistakes unless you reverse them, unless you actively work to reverse them. It leads to what you're talking about, links to because he's crying and there's a lot of emotions, and it could be a lot of things he's talking about. I think a lot of it does revolve around Padme, and a lot of it about what have I done, and is this worth it? And he's making this bet based on this lie sold to him by Palpatine. I think he knows it. He knows that the infamous no moment, as silly as it might have looked on screen, you got to go to the why of that scene, and he's been sold a lie, and he realizes it, and thus starts the battle between him and Palpatine from there to the end of their life. So. As we know it, different discussion, and I still think the balance was found there. But one of my favorite moments is in Rebels with Ahsoka and Vader facing off the end of season 2. Amazing. And I always you probably hear me talk about it, but it's like when that helmet cracks, when Vader's helmet cracks, and you hear Vader say Ahsoka, it is the voice of Anakin.
Yeah.
And it is the eye of Anakin. And it is him for a moment peeking out behind that wall he's been trapped behind. And Ahsoka, right there in that moment, she almost succeeds in bringing him back, as the way I interpret it. And he's right there for a moment. But the war goes on, and he slays Anakin in that moment. And he'll fight. Vader will fight with Anakin again, we know. And I think it goes to that kind of moment because that stuff doesn't go away just because the mask is on him. He's still having those thoughts. He's still playing around with it. And I think it's a great building block for great Vader moments, Anakin moments to come.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Totally. Ken, you got another special one you want to throw at us?
Yeah, look, there's some runner-ups. I was going to talk about Tali Lintra, the Eyes of Leia, Cloud Riders arriving, Han and Chewie punching it, even some pod racing, Lando and Rise of Skywalker. But if this is my final choice here, I'm going to go with one that came out in Force Awakens 2015. But I've grown to appreciate it more and more and more, and now it's one of my favorite moments. And I think that's a testament to how Star Wars, you can continue to go back to Star Wars and get more. And you can also get more once the story plays out. And once you know more to the different chapters of these characters' lives and the saga overall. And it is Han's final moments. There is the moment that, when I was Han's my guy, and so when he died, I was disappointed. I knew it was coming. I just knew from this angle of I can't imagine Harrison coming back and not killing him off. And there's been things where Harrison's like, I didn't say that.
Right.
Whatever. Doesn't matter. Just as a fan, you're like, I just think Han's gonna go. So already your expectations are there, and then it starts to happen. So you're kind of like, oh, I saw this coming, whatever. And we get lost in that. This is why I don't like watching these things from that perspective. I like, as Joseph always tells us, engage with the story presented to us. But I missed it because I got caught up in it. And the specific moment is where he sees Kylo. He sees Kylo on the walkway. He chooses to engage him. He chooses to go after him because that's what Leia has sent him to do. Go and get our son. We know that going back to the very beginning of Han's life, at least what we see on screen in Solo, he thinks he's something else. He wants to be something else. He can't go against his nature, but he always does, and he always runs away. He always turns his back on things, and then he'll come back, and it plays out time and time again. It's his blessing and curse for 40 years of storytelling, and it ends up being what undoes him. It leads to his death, but as we learn now from Rise of Skywalker, that death saved the galaxy, and that death was the completion of the mission. When he and Leia are arguing, and she says, "You got to go get him," and he's like, "I can't. Luke couldn't do anything. Well, how could I do it?" And she's like, "You're his father," and that is his goal. That is his purpose. And on Takodana, he literally sees Kyle. He could have done it then.
Yep.
He ran away.
Yeah.
He ran away. Han always runs away. He ran away after New Hope. There's a common misconception, unless you read the novel growing up. Han is not part of the Rebel Alliance until midway through Return of the Jedi. He is not. He's Captain Solo of the Millennium Falcon, not Captain of the Rebel Alliance. It is. He accepts it, General Solo. That's why Leia turns to him like, "Oh my gosh, you're in this fight. I think I love you even more now." So Han's always trying to be who he thinks he is, who he wants to be, because it's easier. And I think in that moment, he chooses to complete a bunch of missions in his life. And it leads to not just the redemption of his son, but in a way, saving the galaxy with his compassion in that moment. But it starts with that moment. It's underrated in that sequence.
Oh, absolutely.
It means more to me now in 2020 than it did in 2015. And that is him just going, I have to go to this fight. I have to go to my son. And that's why I love that moment.
It's amazing. It's like
it's beautiful, yeah.
I mean, I'm close with my dad, and I'm sure it's. I think it's a thing that most men have to experience, like seeing your dad become vulnerable for your very first time. You know, it could be at your grandfather's funeral, it could be any situation, but like Han had to expose his vulnerability for the first time in front of his child, and it was to bring him back. And like, God, such a beautiful way to put it, Ken, because you almost don't realize it when you first watch it, then when you watch it again, but it's one of those things you really have to sit on. You have to really think about that, like how much courage it took for him to have to actually do that. He is a runner, and it's very obvious from Solo all the way through, and it's amazing that they even brought him back in The Rise of Skywalker to make sure they solidify that choice he made in The Force Awakens. It just completed the whole little moment. It's like the opposite of what would have happened, you know? And that's beautiful, truly.
It is. It's great, and just that whole it is so underrated, and it's like especially after Rise of Skywalker with God bless his heart, Harrison coming back and basically redoing that scene, the hand touch of the face and everything. The hand touch of the face gets me now more than it ever has.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to like. I know like sometimes people be like play the like I'm a father card and stuff, but just like being a father and like I actually was trying to sort of explain that to my 2.5-year-old, my almost 3-year-old, the other day because we were watching it and I was like, yeah, he hurt his daddy, but even though he upset his daddy and hurt him, his daddy still loves him and forgives him. Right. And it really, it was in that moment I kind of just like, wow. It's a big moment when you realize there's a wall you hit when you become an adult and you realize, oh wow, my parents were just people and they were just as scared as I was. And I mean, life is scary, and just like that, the whole antithesis of Han being the guy that runs and just, I don't know, the finding out for the first time that your parents care, but that like they're not running, like, I don't know, and not everyone, I guess, has a relationship like where their father runs off to become a spice runner or whatever, a smuggler, and you join a totalitarian government just out of spite. It's a little less, it's dial it back from 11. But just I think you have those moments where you're like, well, do they even care? And just you have those vulnerable. Just the first vulnerable moment is, man, it's full of a lot of emotions for sure. So that's a great pull, Kent, for sure. That's a great underrated moment, and man, it's one of my favorites of the sequel trilogy too. Just that whole sequence. It also broke me. I broke down and ugly cried in the movie theater. I also, fun fact, I came down with a cold. I think I've sold this on the show before, but just so you know, I basically was getting a cold through the entire movie, The Force Awakens. I was fine when I got there. By the time I left, I had a fever. My wife had to drive. But like whenever Han, I don't know if it was that I was like so delirious, I straight up like shaking, ugly cried, like I'm like not making noise because again I don't want to be a jerk. But like, and my wife literally Allison looks at me, Scott, and she goes, "Are you okay?" And it wasn't a I care about you and okay. It's like, am I gonna have to like you are really like it's a fictional character. Are you going to be all right? Like,
you recover.
Like it was like a dude, are like this didn't show up whenever I signed, the marriage certificate.
Yeah.
So but anyway, it's I don't know, man. Like that is it's such an underrated moment. So brilliant. Well, you know what? I'm gonna just give my couple of
honorable mentions,
man, before
cool.
I go into it. One of them is like a real quick, just a line that I love, just a whole like in TLJ. Whenever the Falcon shows up on Crate, it's amazing, and I'm sure all of us love, but endlessly, I have to stop and watch whenever those 3 ties get destroyed, and then everyone's
great.
cheering. And Kylo, Ren's like, blast that piece of junk out of the sky, and I like it's almost one word. I wrote it as in all caps, like smushed together. It's one word, out of the sky, and that moment is great. Just that he calls it a piece of junk and stuff. I'm sure he heard his dad call it that. Fastest hunk of junk of the galaxy, Uncle Wando, and stuff and all that. But just I don't know. That's just such a good, like, fist pumping moment and stuff. Also, honorable mention in that scene, Finn going, "Oh, they hate that ship," is amazing too. So
that it's known in the first order.
That it's known. It's like I love that it's more known now. It's like great, the Falcon's here. Great, okay. Well, recalculate here. Well, here we go. What are we gonna do? But that moment, and also the Kanan versus the Grand Inquisitor duel at the end, has always been for me. I consider it one of the best lightsaber duels in all of Star Wars. I love just the emotions of it and the say what you will about the animations and stuff. I think it's amazing. It's beautiful. It looks great. But just the emotion of that scene, and I know this is an honorable mention, but the Grand Inquisitor taunting him with like after he thinks that Ezra's dead. And he goes, or he's like, that was a mistake. Why? Because you have no one left to die for you? No, because now I have nothing left to fear. Is one of the best lines.
That's badass. I'm not gonna lie.
That is like, and I love that Kanan 100% should have been, he deserved that spot. Freddie Prinze Jr., bless his heart, deserved that spot in Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
And like that whole sequence of Rey even could be that's a podcast episode all of its own. That whole moment of the Jedi telling Rey to get up is amazing, and Kanan 100% deserves to be on that like roster of A-list Jedi, if you ask me. So,
absolutely.
But beyond all the honorable mentions and all the tears that I've shed tonight, one of the best moments, one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars, and it's a little bigger of a moment, but I love in Return of the Jedi when you cut back from the ground battle, the space battle, you cut back towards the very end, we're the tail end of the battle for the soul of the galaxy between Luke and Vader, and Vader's just basically trying to goad Luke out from hiding, just this whole moment. I love to go back to like listen to that moment on the score too, because it's a long buildup of like Vader just really trying to goad Luke, you know, like talking about how, you know, Obi-Wan was why, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, but when he gets, just the fact that when he gets to, like he feels in that moment is when he discovers, at least I feel like in canon, that is the moment he discovers, oh, you have a sister. Well, now, what was it? Now Obi-Wan's failure is complete, just that whole thing, you know. And so if you won't turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will. Luke coming out of hiding from that is what gets his anger. It's like, you're not going to, like, it's Luke's, it's a Jedi, it's almost Jedi in that he wants to protect his sister, but it's it's Luke's downfall. It's Luke's, you know, it's
typical
Luke's fatal flaw that he is so like
impulsive
in the moment, impulsive and stuff, and he just comes out behind and just that whole sequence until he finally beats Vader to the ground and cuts his arm off. That whole sequence, just mainly them under there up until the but the music, the building up to it. John Williams is a treasure, and I don't know. I'm sad he's done a little bit, but I'm also like happy that he got to finish things out. But just what a master at, like, music and stuff. The first time we had that was like Return of the Jedi is the first time we really had orchestral, or like not orchestral. I'm sorry, like vocals, right?
Yeah,
choral in there, and that just the whole like the Emperor. It just. That theme is so underrated to me. Like that piece of music from when Luke jumps out to Vader, it's so like melancholy and just you feel every emotion in that music, and it is just, I don't know, it's beautiful, heartbreaking, and it's a get 'em moment at first, but then you're like, wait, okay, you just played into the Emperor's hand, and you're doing what he wants, and he realizes it's just everything about that moment. I'm falling apart emotionally now. So that to me is probably my top moment of this is what this whole story is about. It's about this making the right decision. It's making mistakes and realizing I need to make this right. Yeah. And I know we could just talk for hours about the end of Return of the Jedi, and like from there on, the whole I'm a Jedi like my father before me. But I turn it over to you, gentlemen, because this is we're getting a little long in the tooth now. So go on.
Yeah, for me, that whole sequence, the throne room in Return of the Jedi, is like my favorite sequence in Star Wars, and I love a lot of other things that nip at the heels of that, but it is everything described. It's the visuals, it's the music, it is the decision of Luke to choose that to come out and to start to give into his anger and leading to his big lesson and his victory over violence, and that leads to his redemption. One of my favorite little moments, because I love so many Palpatine moments, but I'm a Jedi like my father before me, and Palpatine's "so be it, Jedi." Like I just I've always loved that moment, and it's so chilling. So it's just good. Like, because it's as if Palpatine's saying like, all right, well, yep, you are a Jedi, and you're going to die a Jedi. And it is kind of, because this is Luke's trials to me. This is Luke's Jedi trials, because he doesn't have a formal academy or order to attend or Jedi school, you know? So it all feeds into that moment. But yeah, even below the stairs. And it's I was just rewatching the From Star Wars to Jedi documentary on StarWars.com, which on Star Wars Show and Tell on Force Center's YouTube channel. I have the VHS tape I had in '89 for that. Nice. I was sharing that and talking about it. And there's great stuff in there. And George was talking about that moment. And George was like, we didn't have a moment in the script for Luke to jump out. We just said Vader said something that upsets him. Wow. And we were on set. We were like, it's try Leia. It'd be Leia, right? That would work. So here's this big giant moment in Star Wars, big giant moment in canon, right? Yeah. And it's the filmmakers and the actors figuring this out on set. Which is always interesting to remember those kind of moments versus they should have planned it all out. That's not how filmmaking's done. And to have that powerful moment, because they're all feeling the characters in that scene in that moment as they're making it, I love it even more because of that. So great choice.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I love it so much. And we wouldn't have, like you said, Ken, we wouldn't have the "I love you, I know" line without a little bit of riffing and stuff. So I know that's not important to the whole story, but there you go. Who cares about the big battle plan, man? Let's just make some good film that's going to make us feel things.
Yes.
So, Scott, go ahead, Scott.
Well, just to kind of close out what you just said, Jerry, the fact that like the music within itself is it's choral, and I didn't think about that's the first one that was ever used, and like it sounds like it's a weird analogy, but it sounds like a 1940s recording, and this sounds old. It's like this beautifully done, like the voices are all trembling, and it's huge, and like. In the way it's shot, it goes from dark to light, and he is just like slash and slash, 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 and then it cuts to like kind of Vader just receiving the end of it, and then that ending is just phenomenal, and that's what triggers the anger. It's just like Luke being impulsive in TLJ with the lightsaber over Ben. That's one of those moments like. That's where Luke obviously has his character flaws, as all heroes do. And that moment was the first time you really see it, besides him being naive in Empire Strikes Back, That was the first time you're like, oh, man, Luke actually kind of made a mistake there. He tapped that dark side within him. Great point, Jerry. Great. Fantastic.
Right. Thank you. I have a few in the chamber. So,
My two honorable mentions, the R2 Naboo escape when they're escaping Naboo. Amazing, just they're leaving for the first time.
Such a fun sequence, man.
Oh, man, and R2, hello, boyos, and then they all, say hi, Jar Jar, and they all get in the thing, and they go up, and theirs get picked off one by one by one by one, and then R2's there, and he's just the only one that's like, all right, I guess I gotta do this, and... he successfully does it, and shields come back up, and they get the hell out of there. It's amazing. And the music is huge, and I don't know. I'm very fond of that moment. And my other one, I don't know if I'm gonna switch them around now. I think I might, guys. I originally had the climax of TLJ with the supremacy. All three of the storylines finally meeting up, and then Admiral Holdo does the maneuver and just wipes out the supremacy. Truly, that was just one of those
beautiful.
Just it's the thing I like in Star Wars. It's the combination of stories all into one, and how it builds and why it builds that way is just so well done. And then everything after that's perfect. But my last one I want to end on is Luke lifting the X-wing in The Rise of Skywalker. Just the parallels and the beauty of the moment. And I'm a pretty emotional person. Ken, I don't know if you've ever seen it. There's a reaction video of me on the internet, and it's got 2.1 million views. It's super popular, and we're still getting hate comments to this day. But I cry when I see the Rise of Skywalker trailer for the first time, and I'm pretty emotional. And that moment in the theaters was I love the Yoda moment. Don't get me wrong, but that just took that moment and just completed Luke's story. And I love TLJ, but it really just it was almost done at the end of TLJ, then they just finalized it when he lifts up that exact X-wing in Octo's waters, and just Rey is hopeful again. Everything is just he course corrects her, and I think that's what Yoda did for Luke too later. I don't know. I can talk about it forever, but yeah, that is one of those moments that I think really did affect me personally.
No, what's funny? I now remember seeing you cry. Good on you, man. I now remember that video. That's
a lot of people have seen him cry.
Yeah. No, that's good. And look, I cried uncontrollably through most of Rise of Skywalker, my first, second, and third viewings at different times. Just because of what it meant for me, just outside of the story as a fan. This is my whole life, and blah, blah, blah. You can list all the reasons, and people can make fun of it all they want. I'll still cry. That moment got me a lot in the theater the first time because of what it means, because Luke had submerged it on Octo and didn't want to lift it up. And then as it's just so plainly stated, it's just so this is what Luke couldn't do in Empire. He couldn't lift it.
No,
he couldn't.
No.
Yoda had to do it. And now here he is. He's doing it. He's truly, his journey's complete. He has it's that circle, it's that poetry again. But Last Jedi it does, it's my favorite of the new movies, and I love what they do with Luke. But this is that final little, he is accepted, because that's part of the lessons. I keep talking about this. It's like I don't care how Palpatine came back or not. Like it all works. It's all part of his contingency plan. If you need the canon checklist, go for it.
Exactly.
It's the character. It's Palpatine's character.
Yeah, he came back because the Sith don't let go. The Sith don't let go, and Luke let go, and he moved on to the next chapter of his life, the next plane of his existence, and that completed his journey, completed it, and now he's experiencing other things with Leia in the afterlife. They're brother and sister reunited, but going to the moment and to use the same music again.
The theme killed me,
and Yoda's theme, which
killed me.
As I wrote about. Yeah, I did. I wrote about it in the book, but it's like Yoda's theme is the sound of enlightenment in Star Wars. It's the sound of comfort, home, and learning. You're a teacher, it's the sound of learning. And anytime you hear Yoda's music, you're going home again. You're going to that safe spot with your teacher, your mentor, and where your lessons are and how you can learn to be a better you. And to see it all play out like that, I'm right there with you. I think the first screening we saw it down at the El Capitan, and Scrimshaw was behind me, and that was one of the moments where he just reached out and tapped me on the shoulder.
You grab the kneecap,
Yeah, it's great. And then we stepped out of the theater, and all my colleagues were getting ready to get their hate tweets going, because it's what's the world they live in, not the one I live in.
Right.
But, so I'm right there with you. I'll cry with you.
Man, I know I've been very emotional and deep on a lot of this stuff, but let me share with you guys, and save your rotten fruit to throw at me until the end, on a journey that this took me on. This took me on a journey. This was the first time I think I had something where at first, and Scott, we've talked about this before, where there was something about it that I had a couple little things in it that I was like, okay, I get it. It's Luke lifting the X-Wing and stuff. I think I had a moment where I didn't really care for the face. I was like, it looks like he's in a 1980s sitcom. Oops.
Yeah.
Look what I did. I promise it's coming back around. Don't leave yet, guys. Ken, stay. Ken, no. No. So, and then I learned that I shouldn't take. This was a learning experience for me. I learned I shouldn't take. This is the moment where I was like, oh, I shouldn't take things I shouldn't be so serious. But I learned that I also shouldn't take Pablo Hidalgo's visual dictionaries as seriously, because that part about the X-Wing door, the door of his hut, and I know they kind of explained it a little bit in the novelization. Again, this wasn't a huge sticking point for me at all. That was my initial viewing. I was like, but wait, that was the door. And I realized how dumb I sounded. I realized I sound like the people talking about, and again, if it's not your thing, the bomb's falling in space, God bless your heart. If that doesn't work for you, it's okay. We can go to a focus group together, a group together, and we'll talk our feelings out. But
some good counseling.
I'm to the point now where it helped me to talk about it with you, Scotty. I did the first 2 back-to-back viewings of my entire life of a Star Wars film I've never seen with Rise of Skywalker. Talked to no one about it until the next day I talked to you, Scotty. And I started to deal with my feelings, and I was like, okay, I'm okay. I'm good. I love that moment now. It's so good. It means so much to Rey's journey. It means so much to it means so much to it's 100% what Luke. It's the finishing of his arc.
Yeah.
This is the moment that I needed to pass, and here we are, man. This is the full circle for me, and I'm gonna do this to help you, Rey. I'm doing this is for you, and I do love it, and I look back on how I kind of reacted at first, and I'm a little man, this is exactly why. This is exactly why you need to take this stuff. You need to go outside, take a walk. Currently, maybe just maybe around your backyard, find an unpopulated area, but just go out on your back porch, get some fresh air. walk back in, and you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. But that seriously, with Yoda's theme, the way you guys talk about it too, it is such a beautiful moment. It's such a great moment. And it leads to one of my favorite moments for Rise of Skywalker, and that is when they get Luke's call sign. Master, that's Luke Skywalker's X-Wing. And then it cuts to the shot of Rey going through whatever that red madness is on her way to Exegol with Luke's helmet on, just in the X-Wing. And talk about shots we never thought we would get, that we never knew we needed, that we thought, that's fan fiction for me, but holy crap, that's amazing that we have that in real life. I love that. So again, okay, I'm done. You can throw the fruit, whatever you want at me and stuff. I just said, I had to share that journey that I went with that, but that is a great pull, Scott. And that's a great moment. And you could say again that is almost a great moment to end on too, because it's so this is like the DNA of Star Wars, is that like a moment like that where it connects back to the past but is pushing the new generation forward.
Yep. Beautiful job, gentlemen.
Indeed.
This was great. Ken, did you have anything else you want to mention before we close this whole discussion out?
No, there's just too many moments to list, man, and this is why, when it comes to like even ranking the films, it changes every day.
Yeah.
It changes every day because Star
agree.
Wars is just this big wonderful thing. So
this is,
and now we have all this time to rewatch Star Wars.
Yes.
So we're probably finding new moments. By the hour.
Yeah. I wish I had the time, but yes, I definitely put them on in the background.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I say I do, but I have a 3-year-old, so
Yeah. Good luck to you. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Boys, this has been amazing. Ken, thank you so much for joining, man. This has been
Seriously, such a pleasure for coming on, man.
Total pleasure. And I don't know, Ken, if you don't mind, can you get your little plugs in for what's going on with you in this world?
Sure. If you want to listen to me and Joseph Scrimshaw and Jennifer Landa on the older episodes and future episodes when she is clear from her newborn, well, actually a little more than a newborn now. It's her young Padawan. Go over to Force Center. Follow us on Twitter, Force Center Pod. About 3 episodes a week now. We're doing the Clone Wars Report and the main show on Tuesdays, and then Star Wars Ranked on Thursday. YouTube channel as well. If you want to pick up my book, Why We Love Star Wars, you can go get it wherever books are sold, or you can go directly to my website where you can get a personalized signed copy directly from me at kennapzok.com. And if you go to the website, you'll find out all the other things I'm doing. One thing I just am about to, it's out there. You can find it and subscribe and get ready for it. But it's about 2-3 weeks away from launching. And that is a baseball podcast called Box Score Heroes. Because before I started talking about Star Wars professionally, all I did was dream about baseball. So I'm finally going to merge the two together, and Box Score Heroes will be a baseball podcast feed coming from me very soon.
That is awesome.
Perfect.
We know John Hoey at the Resistance Broadcast and Star Wars Newsnet. He's a big Star Wars guy, of course. He's a big baseball guy too. So I don't know if you're looking for guests, but I'm sure he would probably do it too, man. He
Absolutely.
loves baseball. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's cool. A new adventure for you. That's badass.
That's the one with the bats, right?
That's the bat one.
Sorry. That's me. No, seriously. Thank you so much for coming on, Ken, and it's just such a pleasure, like talking with you about this subject, man. Because it's just the things that keep us awake in the best way at night. So, but thank you so much for coming on, man.
Seriously,
my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course, Jerry, get our plugs in. I heard Paul come through the door earlier. So I think he might want to do the sign out. I know.
Make sure he stays out right now. We're trying to talk with someone here, but we've got guys. If you want to keep up with us, you can find me and Scotty at our personal pages. You can follow us, Scotty at the Scotty J Rowe. You can follow me at the Canon Junkie. You can follow the Bombadcast at Bombadcast, and pretty much just type that little word Bombadcast into the Google machine, and you will find us just about anywhere that you find human beings holding up inside their domiciles at the current moment. But look for us there. You can join our Bombad fam, Bombadcast official group on Facebook. Again, no shade to Facebook. I know I said shady things earlier about Facebook and stuff, but I love all my aunts and uncles, and great aunts and uncles, and all them hanging out over there. So it's good to see you. But anyway, guys, thank you for stopping by, and until next time. Wait. What's going on, Scott? What we got? Oh no. Did he come in?
Yeah,
Did he make it in?
I think he is. Oh God. How we doing, people?
Gosh.
It's me, Paul Stanley of Kiss. I'm eating my Kiss ice cream in my Kiss pajamas, and we are here, and thank you so much,
Paul.
Jerry and Scotty and Ken for having me on. I'm elated to be here. Everyone, Ken, give me a yeah, Ken, give me a yeah.
Oh, Paul, pleasure to meet you, man. Big fan. Saw you 96. Irvine Poe opened for you. It was a great concert, man.
Concert. Yeah, it was a great concert. I remember that night. I played a show, and it was great. And Jerry, how are you doing? How are you doing, Jerry?
I'm doing great. Scotty, what did you tie him up? Did you conk him over the head with a frying pan because you've taken his seat, Scott? We're trying to end the show, Paul.
Oh.
Love you.
Oh, okay.
But just go.
Can I end it? Can I end it?
We're trying.
Can I end it?
You can end it, but then you need to go keep with the stay-at-home order.
Okay.
For Louisiana.
Okay.
Come on, my man.
Okay. Well, look. All right. So everybody here in the audience, here in the studio, it's not much of a studio, but we're here. So how about this, y'all? Everybody here. Yeah, you need to go home and stay Bombad, and make sure you buy the Kiss toothpaste that's recently released.
Good night, everybody.